I wanted to come here tonight, and as many of you know, I've been traveling back and forth, so I'm not always here, so I know you all want to go home at this point, but you're going to have to endure me for a few minutes, if for no other reason, because I had to do it for 2 years too. So with that, I do want to talk about one particular item and just ask your continued support and make sure that some of my feelings and my comments are on the record this evening. This committee, I think, has done something great in adding the new line for student achievement. You've added, try to make that focus, whether it be just a line on the agenda, but I really believe that each of you is trying to get back to the basics of the work of the school committee. With that, I think it's very important to realize that the massive majority of your funds, so all the resources that you have to invest in the education here in the school district, go where? They go to the salary and benefits of the staff that we have. And thankfully we have some tremendous staff all across the district, and they provide a great service. And it shouldn't be a surprise if that's where the money goes, right? There are employees, but it's also the only service we provide. So that's not a knock on them, it's simply that's where it goes because that's the biggest pot that you can have an impact by making investments in that talent. You have a lot of work here, and I understand that. I understand that there are competing priorities each and every week. But when it comes to the quality of our faculty and staff, when it comes to the performance of students, nothing's more important than that teacher or that principal, or even central leadership at times. You have a lot of work also to do in building a culture. You're kind of starting a new culture in this district, right? There's a new leadership coming in with a new superintendent. There's a pretty different change in the school committee, and you have a lot to repair as well. The culture of this department has gone through a lot in the last 3, 4, 5 years of budgets and leadership issues and all kinds of problems that have stemmed over a long period of time. So you have a lot of work, but when you start going down in the deepness of this, what are the areas that you should really focus on? And in that area of performance, setting that bar and making it the right way it's supposed to be here in Cumberland, and setting that high achievement standard that Ms. Sands always talks about. Just as we hold the students accountable to higher standards, we have to hold our faculty and staff to higher standards. Just as we ask them to perform at their very best, we need to demand that our staff perform at their very best. And just as we reward students, and we have student recognition here, we also need to reward our faculty, our staff, and our administrators based upon their performance. That is the key crux of a line of work that we started 2 years ago with a committee prior to this one, and several of you were a part of that work. Continuing the business as usual isn't going to work. We all know that, right? I mean, it's not, I can say it over and over again, and it's always going to be the same thing, and it's never going to change. And for me, as you all know you all make fun of me, it's the 22-year-old kid who doesn't know Jack. When I sit here and I look out on the future of Cumberland, and really just the future entirely, how many more tomorrows are there? How many more tomorrows are there until the manufacturing jobs are not only gone, but now the service economy jobs are gone? Each and every day, I see them going away, going away, going away, and it's because our students are not prepared. So what does that have to do with you? You have the responsibility for 5,000 students more than anybody else. You guys do. There's a lot of other problems that go on that are not in your control. But the things that are in your control, the things that you can get done, invest in them. Spend the time on them. It's not easy. There's always that competing budget issue, or there's always the, food fight happening from one side of this table to the other. And I get that. I sat there, I know it. But don't lose focus on that one topic. And so what am I asking you to do, really, right? So tonight you tabled a lot of the contracts, and that was going to be my ask to you this evening. And it wasn't in particular on them. It was more on the broader work. So we spent 2 years working and chipping away at a lot of items, right? So we came forward with new performance standards, evaluation rubrics, different ways to evaluate our administrators, went through personnel. We have all of these grounding forces in place that have been developed by teachers, developed by administrators, the Rhode Island Department of Ed. All of this has been ongoing for 2 years. And in the culmination of that, as many of you remember, I've always been a fierce advocate for this, and in the culmination of that at the end, for the very last piece thing that we were able to accomplish was moving to a performance-based pay for our administrative staff. And I understand, and I am somewhat supportive of your initial move to move it to be effective July 1st, so you can have a wholesale sweep. That way it's not one group versus another group, and that way you can have consistency and it's easier to implement. I get that. But moving it beyond, there is some merit to that, is there was no money for raises in the next fiscal budget. But setting the groundwork is also important. Setting that standard, setting the standard that performance is what will drive the allocation of any scarce resource that may come about. And that is the biggest thing that you can do, and hopefully that begins to inspire our culture in the faculty and staff, starting from the top, starting from the leadership. And also that is hopefully a start of how you compensate your next superintendent as well, and making sure that's a clear priority for you as a school committee. You know, in addition to that, you know, we took a lot of heat, and as some of you remember, you know, as we ended that work, we had done a lot of research on the other pieces of this. Remember then Member Mutter on his quest for vacation days and sick day review, and Councilor Lemoyne, the town council that year, was threatening to withhold town council funding if we kept giving out these benefit packages that we were. And that's also a pretty cognizant point today, as you go in front of the town council and ask for more funds, and the benefit package is still the same. We did do a lot of work on that. There is a lot of research on that. Mr. Wood has that, and Mr. Bolio has that. Mr. Mutter, Mr. Pedro have it also. There's a lot of background research on what is competitive for a complete compensation package. The work's already done. You simply need to put it in place. So as you guys move forward, you know, really take the time to think through these things. You know, it may seem mundane, passing it through, getting it done, you know, an administrative issue, but you have an opportunity with this one issue to really set the bar. And you also have the issue that we can't complain about rising pension costs and the lack of attention to that, or lack of change at the state level, if we're not taking care of the own issues in our own house that we do have the control of and we can address. So that is my ask of you. I will not always be here as you go through these, and I appreciate your work. And I know how hard of a job it is, I really do. So I appreciate everything you do. But my ask of you is to keep that fundamental principle of a performance-based culture alive and well, living and developing here at Cumberland as we go forward. Because we don't talk about transformation. There's a true opportunity for you now. The slate is clean. You can make the changes that you want without unilaterally. You can do that. So I ask you to do that, and I thank you for your time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson.